Greetings, my dear friends, and welcome to another episode of Reading Epic Threads. I'm your host, Patrick Gunnels, joining you from Spring, Texas this October 1st, 2024 at 12:12 p.m. Central Daylight Time. And I want to remind everybody here to please hit the thumbs up and check out our amazing products at tulipblooms.shop. That's tulipblooms.shop, because right now all of you using promo code Shapiro can get 10% off. But everything at tulipblooms.shop is free shipping through November 2nd. So definitely check that out, my friends. We have artisan soaps, and these are the best soaps I've ever used. I'll never use another thing in my life. You can get a subscription for monthly soap deliveries as well. You can also get a subscription to the amazing, incredible, dead skin removing, health inducing Rainfall, consisting of a beautiful organic aloe base, followed by food grade plant oils. It makes dead skin tumble away from you without a trace of abrasion. It makes sunburns disappear. It is truly a miracle product. Get it at tulipblooms.shop. All right, let's begin with our Erik Carlson doubleheader. From ericc.substack.com. Usury, hypocrisy. The banking system must fall. By Erik Carlson. I am a proud Christian. This isn't to say that I don't recognize that Christians are hypocritical at times, or that many bad things have been done in the name of Christianity. Many non-Christians judge Christians by our hypocrisy. They judge the religion by its followers. I totally get this. Christians judge other religions by those religions' followers as well. Christians don't claim to be perfect, but our God is perfect. We aim to live our lives as Christ lived his life on earth, but we fall short every day. What separates Christianity from other religions is the understanding that we can't achieve atonement on our own. We can only rely on Christ for redemption. We must give our lives to Christ that we may share what only he has earned. With all this being said, I believe the world is a better place because of Christianity. As bad as things are without Christianity, I believe the world will be much worse off. Christian values transcend into other cultures. I believe Christian values are the glue that holds the world together. Christian values allow us all to exist together better. But what I would now like to focus on is one of Christianity's, the hypocrisies of many Christians: usury. Usury is defined by some as lending money at excessive interest rates. Others define usury as lending money at any interest rate. I will define it here as lending money for a profit. Banking. Without making money, no non-government business can afford to stay in business. Banks can't pay their rent, keep their lights on, and pay their employees while providing a service for free. In this type of scenario, where a business or industry cannot and does not make money, the business or industry would cease to exist. What does the Bible say about banking? Most reading this article know about Jesus upturning the tables of the money changers at the temple. The money changers were likely bankers, but Jesus was offended by them for profiting off the temple. Jews came from all around to visit the temple and make sacrifices. Contributions to the temple needed to be made in shekels, because the Jews who were making pilgrimages to the temple came from regions with different currencies. They had to exchange their currency into shekels. The money changers charged them exorbitant fees to exchange their currencies for shekels. These people, these money changers, were profiting off the temple while sticking it to their own people. This was mentioned in all 4 of the Gospels. Must be important. From the book of Leviticus, chapter 25, verses 35 through 37, New International Version. If any of your fellow Israelites become poor and are unable to support themselves among you, help them as you would a foreigner and stranger so they can continue to live among you. Do not take interest or any profit from them, but fear your God so that they may continue to live among you. You must not lend them money at interest or sell them food at a profit. From the book of Exodus, chapter 22, verse 25, New International Version. If you lend money to one of my people among you who is needy, do not treat it like a business deal. Charge no interest. I don't claim to be a Bible scholar, but from what I can decipher, it is permissible for Jews to lend to non-Jews for a profit. It's a gray area to me on whether or not Jews are permitted to charge interest to Jews. Certainly, it isn't permissible to charge exorbitant interest to Jews. It seems clear that when lending money to poor Jews or needy Jews, it is not permissible to charge any interest on money lent to them. It's interesting to think that today, the wealthy have access to lower interest rate loans, while the poor and needy either pay higher interest or don't qualify for loans at all. It's the exact opposite of what the Bible commands. Why are Jews so heavily represented in banking today? It appears that in the Bible, the Jews are allowed to profit by lending money to non-Jews, but they aren't allowed to loan to Jews at high interest rates, and they can't lend to the poor and needy Jews at any interest rate. Again, there is a bit of a gray area for me if the Jews can charge any interest to other Jews who aren't poor and needy. When Christianity became the official religion of Rome in the 300s, the Vatican had an issue to deal with. They decided to be biblical about money lending. Therefore, Christians could not lend money to other Christians for a profit. In other words, God's chosen people couldn't lend money to others of God's chosen people for a profit. This created an issue. How could they have access to capital if the people providing that capital can't make money by lending it? If you can't make money lending money, you can't have a banking system. Here's where the hypocrisy comes into play. The Vatican decided it was impermissible for Jews to lend money to Christians for a profit, and they encouraged them to do it. Problem solved. Now, Roman Christians would have access to loans without it being a sin. This is the equivalent of the Bible condemning the harming of children, and to work around the Bible's obvious stance on child abuse, hypocritical Christians permit or even encourage non-Christians to make child porn for them to consume. In these Christians' eyes, they haven't committed a sin, because in this scenario, the Bible says nothing about consuming child porn, only about harming children. They can convince themselves that they aren't directly harming children. In other words, they bypassed the intent of the law while holding to the letter of the law. Not only were Jews allowed and encouraged by Christian authorities to lend money to Christians for a profit, in some cases, Christians didn't allow Jews to work in many industries. To a certain extent, Jews were pushed into the banking industry. I'm not saying many Jews didn't benefit from this arrangement. Many acquired great power and wealth. Even today, Jews are overrepresented a lot in the banking system throughout the world. Today, things are much different regarding banking being viewed as a sin, far removed from the strict biblical interpretation of Christians lending money to other Christians being a sin if you profit from it. Many Christians are now part of the banking system. The Bible wasn't changed to condone it, just isn't viewed as a sin by the Christian church anymore. No one who takes out a mortgage today thinks they're participating in a sinful act. While Christians and Jews make up most of the banking system. Literally, no one views their participation as being a sin anymore. Moses brought down the tablets with the 10 commandments, one commandment being, thou shalt not kill. Some believe abortion is a woman's reproductive right. While this issue might be split down the middle with Americans, no one views a Christian lending money to other Christians for a profit as being a sin. Without changing the doctrine of the Bible, Christian leaders now simply ignore the passages that say God's people lending money to God's people for a profit is a sin. When the Bible gets in the way of powerful people gaining control and wealth, the church leaders often simply ignore the passages that stand in their way. Some people view Jews as being a greedy cult that controls the world. I understand this perception based on the overrepresentation of Jews in positions of power and influence, but I think in most cases these Jews are just puppets of the cabal. Yes, many profit immensely from the arrangement, but I fail to see them as the decision makers in most cases. Maybe some of them, but certainly not to the extent that some believe. The next time you want to accuse the Jews of being the cabal, consider that the Vatican, the only Christian church at the time, basically encouraged, if not forced, Jews into the banking industry. The Jews weren't allowed to farm. They weren't allowed to work as tradesmen, but they could make a lot of money working in banking. Now, this isn't to justify any of the crimes against humanity that have occurred the past 2 millennia, but it's to help us understand where it started. In my opinion, the Jewish faith has been inundated with Satanists, but so has the Christian church. Satanists have infiltrated all religions. It's not the bankers alone who need to be eradicated to make the world whole again. It's also the people who control them. It doesn't matter who goes to prison or who is executed for treason if the system stays in place. The system must be destroyed. How that ultimately looks and feels, your guess is as good as mine. But I do believe the election of Donald Trump will be the first step in tearing down the satanic system that enslaves us all. The financial system must be destroyed and replaced with a new system that doesn't create and maintain debt slavery. In a better world, where the people run the government and not the other way around, the government could be the one lending money for things like mortgages and car loans. The government would charge very little to no interest on these and other loans as well. With our financial system running through private banks, a profit must always be turned. Those who need money the most don't have access to it or pay such high interest that they can never pull themselves out of debt. Without the private banking system creating and maintaining the bulk of loans, Americans could start to get ahead. If non-corrupt government was the one lending money, they wouldn't need to turn a profit. Our tax dollars would pay for their operational costs. Imagine having a mortgage where 100% of your payments go towards paying down the principal and none of it goes toward the interest. Ironically, today, with a corrupt government, all government-run companies and agencies would be better off if they were privatized. But it doesn't need to be this way. If we got rid of the corruption, the government would become the preferred choice in many cases. Money lending for a profit was shunned in the Bible. Money lending for a profit is now what makes us slaves to the system. Debt slaves. The financial system must be uprooted in order for real change to occur. Anyone have a better idea on how to make that happen? I'm listening. Thank you, Erik Carlson, for your wonderful work. I am very interested in how we're going to go about dealing with this usury problem. My friends, go to tulipblooms.shop. Tulipblooms.shop, not .net, not .com, not anything else but shop, because it is a shop. That's what it is. It's a wonderful shop that makes your skin good. This is the body and scalp serum. My friends, this contains jojoba, virgin organic, and castor oil, virgin organic, and also infused with an essential oil blend designed to smell heavenly, and my God, does it. And also designed, I stopped putting this on my scalp for a while, and boy, did I regret it. This is your spot treatment for any kind of aggressive, oh my God, the rosemary. So this isn't just rosemary essential oil. There's a little bit of that in there. It's also that we soaked well, my wife soaked the jojoba in rosemary for 3 weeks. So we've got a whole new batch of it right now. And you just put it on your scalp. You put it in your hair. You put it behind your ears. It just creates a feeling of calm. Oh, God, get your friggin' body and scalp serum right now at tulipblooms.shop. Free shipping right now. Make sure to use promo code Shapiro for an additional 10% off. Your skin, the youthening of your skin, the dead skin disappearing, everything about it, guys. It changes things. Get your scalp serum today. Get your rainfall today. Get your body butter today. All of these things at tulipblooms.shop. All right. One more piece. So we'll make it a quick show today. From badlands.substack.com. The great purge of the cabal has begun. Don't sleep on the P. Diddy arrest, by Erik Carlson. And for those of you just listening, it's a really scary photo. The P. Diddy situation is really interesting to me. I must say, I am both infatuated and disgusted by the inner workings of the entertainment industry. I'm a lifelong consumer of entertainment, like most reading this. I've seen the quality of content produced over the years diminish. I yearn for the past when, in my opinion, music was made to last and movies were memorable. But I'm not naive enough to believe the entertainment industry hasn't always been a cesspool. It is most likely worse today, and I'm sure blackmail is now used much more often to maintain control. But I can acknowledge that the entertainment industry has never been as merit-based as you'd hope to believe. For example, Mark Hamill didn't get the lead in the biggest movie franchise ever because he was a great actor. Notice how much he despises Trump today for no real reason. Before I understood there is a satanic cabal and that the cabal runs the entertainment industry, things just didn't make sense. I could never figure out why talented artists couldn't seem to get their breakouts, or how mediocre talent could achieve such long-term success, power, and influence for decades. It just didn't make sense to me until I became aware of how the system works. The pieces started to come together for me when I saw who publicly despised Trump after he became president. Overrated, mediocre talent, A-list entertainers. They were outing themselves. Those who scream the loudest have the most to hide. Entertainment is personal to most people. People will argue until they're blue in the face over the best sitcom ever, or who is the greatest rock guitar player of all time. Very few are willing to argue or even care about politics. While someone reading this may think it's of vital importance for the GOP to gain control of the House in January, exponentially more Americans care more about who will be performing at the Super Bowl halftime show in February. In other words, you may not care about what is happening in the P. Diddy case, but many do. It is connecting to the masses in a way that Epstein never did. I gained an understanding of how the entertainment industry works by following the journey of artists I connect with. It also helped me understand how politics and the political system works on the whole. You are either in the club or you are not. Recently, a new 4-part documentary came out on Amazon Prime about the Canadian rock band, The Tragically Hip. You're probably thinking, who? The Tragically Hip was huge in Canada in the 1990s and pretty big in Europe as well. I believe Justin Trudeau Castro's only redeeming quality is that he is a Tragically Hip fan. The Tragically Hip's debut album, Up to Here, was released in 1989, and this amazing bluesy rock album got plenty of airplay on American rock radio at the time. Their follow-up records, even though arguably better, got no airplay in the US. They seemed to have fallen into an abyss, just disappeared from American radio. As the music executives will say, I just didn't hear a single. I believe this means the band chose not to sell their souls. The Tragically Hip seemed to be a one-album wonder to many American rock fans, except in reality, They continued to produce outstanding work for the next decade. Why did the American music industry reject them when the rest of the world, and especially Canada, embraced them? Back in the 1990s, I used to have to drive to Canada to get their CDs because they weren't released in America until months later. I'd see The Hip in stadiums and large music fests in Canada, but small clubs in the US. It was shameful. It reminds me of another musician I love, Chris Whiteley. Chris Whiteley was a guitar virtuoso slash singer who, like the Tragically Hip, I would see perform in small clubs in the US. Like the Tragically Hip, Chris Whiteley had a very successful debut album released in 1991, Living with the Law. He even had a song in the movie Thelma and Louise played during Brad Pitt's breakout love scene. Like the Tragically Hip, after that successful debut album, Chris Whiteley received no airplay in America, even though he continued to make great music. I actually saw Chris Whiteley perform in a small Seattle music club on the night his best friend and talented singer-guitarist Jeff Buckley washed up on the shore of the Mississippi River. Like Chris Whiteley, Jeff Buckley had a very successful debut album, Grace. He had a big hit with the remake of the Leonard Cohen song, Hallelujah. Some may remember the song from the movie Shrek. The man sang like an angel. Jeff Buckley drowned in the Mississippi River in 1997. As the story goes, this physically fit 30-year-old man pulled his car over to the side of the road in Memphis and decided to go for an impromptu swim, fully dressed, and drowned. He had just proposed to his fiancée days before. It kind of reminds me of Kurt Cobain of Nirvana. In 1994, he finally got his stomach issues figured out. He was finally pain-free, drug-free, with a beautiful young daughter he loved dearly. He was happier than he had ever been in his life. Then he killed himself with a shotgun. Oh, and he just happened to have enough heroin in his body to kill an elephant. You may be asking, so why shoot himself with a shotgun? Better question is, how could he shoot himself with a shotgun in that state? Not quite as bad as the Clinton associate who hung himself or the one who shot himself in the head twice. Or how about Chris Cornell, who hanged himself from a doorknob after a concert in Detroit? We are to believe this father of three, who was beaten to a pulp, hanged himself from a doorknob with a red scarf. Just for reference, look at the closest door near you and notice how high the doorknob is. He's not the only one we've been told died by hanging themselves with red scarves. The red scarf is the cabal's way of saying, this is what happens when you turn on the cabal. Cornell, his friends, Chester Bennington of Linkin Park and Swedish DJ Avicii were said to be producing a documentary exposing child trafficking at the time. All three are said to have killed themselves. Brad Pitt and music producer Rick Rubin are believed to be a part of this group as well. Once seeing their friends die, they got the point and stepped back into line, understandably so. In my opinion, if you turn down the offer to join the cabal, you never find success in the entertainment industry. Your career hits a dead end. If you decide you want out of the club, you usually find yourself an untimely death. One of the big differences between how the cabal controls politicians and entertainers is that entertainers don't need to have a sparkling public reputation, while politicians do. Politicians can be taken out by character assassination. Entertainers usually need to be killed. Notice you don't have nearly the number of politicians mysteriously dying as you do entertainers, but when the blackmail involves evidence of child abuse, no one can survive the public exposure. This is generally how I think the process works. An actor has a breakout role in a movie, or a musician has a big hit song or album, and they are approached by executives. They are given the choice. Submit to them and become successful for years to come, or don't submit to them, and their careers will never attain any real success. Some choose to degrade themselves by committing acts of shame, or in some cases even more horrific offenses against the innocent. Others choose not to be members of the club and struggle to eke out a living in the industry, or they quit the industry altogether. We've all heard the term one-hit wonder or experienced a one-album sensation or a one-movie sensation. We are to believe that all of these artists each had one singular moment of genius, and then that genius just went away, never to reappear. No one would believe that someone could be really smart for a brief moment in time, then spend the rest of their lives as simpletons. Like intelligence, creativity, and talent don't just go away. There is a reason certain actors get all the big roles in all the big movies, even though their talent is somewhat pedestrian. There's a reason certain musical performers continue to sell out stadiums for decades with talent that is middling. There's a reason some politicians continue to get reelected over and over again, even though they lack any charisma or intelligence. They are part of the club. And as comedian George Carlin once said, you ain't in it. The P. Diddy arrest is not simply a distraction. It is the beginning of the end for the cabal. People with names that everyone recognizes will be implicated and, in many cases, arrested. 99% of Americans had no idea who Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were when they were arrested. Their arrests were huge to patriots in the know, but for the vast majority of Americans, it didn't even move the needle. The P. Diddy entertainment model is the same model used in politics. Local politicians start to rise through the ranks and are approached by the cabal. They are given the option to sell their souls, or local politics will be their ceiling. If they submit to the cabal, they will receive the publicity and funding needed to become congressman, senator, maybe even president. They may even be able to achieve some of the things on their own personal agenda along the way. As I mentioned, the P. Diddy situation is reaching the masses in a way Epstein never did or could. Recently, my teenaged son asked me if I heard about how much baby oil the FBI confiscated from P. Diddy's home. He said at school, Diddy is a giant meme. Everyone is discussing the details of the situation. I promise you, no one in high school was talking about Epstein in 2019. Mind you, this doesn't just apply to high school kids, as the general public is no different. The vast majority of the normie world is connecting to the P. Diddy scandal in a way they never could when the blackmailing just involved politicians. Some reading this may be thinking, I couldn't care less about entertainers. I quit consuming entertainment years ago. Honestly, you would connect to the average person 100 times more by knowing details about the P. Diddy case than if you memorized the Constitution. Currently, celebrities who are part of the cabal and have taken part in the satanic rituals of the cabal are panicking. Many are trying to create distance between themselves and P. Diddy. Upon the arrest of P. Diddy, comedian Kevin Hart immediately closed down his 4 vegan restaurants that he partnered with P. Diddy on. Celebrities are scrubbing their social media accounts and music executives are resigning. There is even a rumor that Ben Affleck left J.Lo because of her involvement in it all. On March 25th, 2024, P. Diddy's home was first raided by the FBI. On August 20th, 2024, 5 months later, Ben Affleck and J.Lo filed for divorce. According to rapper 50 Cent, Affleck left J.Lo when he found out about her involvement in Diddy's parties, things even a celebrity in the Hollywood cesspool can't come back from. Imagine that. J.Lo, another example of a mediocre talent celebrity that achieved a long career of fame and fortune. Honestly, has she ever made a good movie or song? She also recently endorsed Kamala Harris. There are also rumors coming out that Kim Kardashian was used in blackmail honeypot operations. Talk about a rich and famous person who has no talent. She literally has no talent, as in she doesn't sing or dance or act or anything. She doesn't even claim to have talent yet. Her whole family is now beyond famous and wealthy, having never done anything. A purposely leaked sex tape has led to creating a whole family's fortune. It appears singer Justin Bieber was the victim of much abuse in Hollywood while still a boy. He has turned to Christianity to mend the damage that has been done to him. Bieber's father-in-law, actor Stephen Baldwin, has been making cryptic videos stating we are in the calm before the storm. Most understand that this is a Q reference. Celebrities are not the only ones who attended P. Diddy's freak-offs and all-white parties. CEOs and politicians were also attendees. The Diddy situation will take down many outside of the entertainment industry as well. Some may be thinking nothing came of the Epstein arrest, as no one on the Epstein list has been arrested. To this, I say, doesn't it make more sense to take everyone down in one fell swoop at a time when Trump is in complete control? As they say in finance, past performance doesn't guarantee future returns. Similarly, the lack of past arrests doesn't guarantee a lack of future arrests. What can these people do to avoid being arrested for their crimes against humanity? They must make sure Trump isn't elected again. But how do they do that? Celebrities are funding Harris and endorsing her. Radio DJ and all-around creep Howard Stern has asked Trump supporters to stop listening to his radio shows. He just happened to take this stance after the P. Diddy arrest, and he just happens to be photographed at one of Diddy's all-white parties. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. If the cabal-controlled celebrities, executives, and politicians aren't successful in keeping Trump out of office, they must have a contingency plan to slow down and impede him. From a September 19th Washington Post article, scarred by violence, lawmakers plan for possible mass casualty event. Quote, Congress must ensure it can continue to govern in the aftermath of mass violence, a bipartisan group of House members argues. Imagine the unthinkable, a mass shooting of members of Congress that leaves a large swath of the country unrepresented and shifts the balance of political power in Washington. In the current political environment, such as an outbreak of violence is not as unthinkable as it used to be, according to a bipartisan collection of House members. The attempted assassination of members at a congressional baseball team practice in 2017, the violent attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, a dramatic spike in threats against the members, and most recently a possible second assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump highlight the need for Congress to ensure it can continue to govern in the aftermath of mass violence, they said. To address such a scenario, these 4 House members, 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats, are pushing an unlikely solution: a constitutional amendment that would allow members to be replaced quickly in the event of a mass casualty event. The continuity amendment would also deny a would-be assassin the power to flip control of the House from one party to another, Kilmer said. The interim appointee would serve only until a special election could take place. End quote. Do people really think these politicians are concerned about the mass murder of congressmen? What they are really concerned about is the mass arrests of politicians and how the government would operate afterwards. These congressmen understand that Trump will be behind the mass arrests and that the vast majority of the politicians being arrested will be deep state never-Trumpers. Imagine the dismantling of the deep state that will occur when the corrupt politicians have been removed from office. The congressmen who want to assign quick replacements for the arrested politicians want to do so their deep state replacements will be able to fight Trump and his agendas. Without quickly replacing the deep state politicians with other deep state politicians, it would be like a Patrick Mahomes-led offense going up against a defense with no players. If the P. Diddy arrest doesn't excite you and you view it as a distraction or just another nothing burger, think again. This arrest is the first shoe to drop in what will be the greatest cleansing the nation has ever known. It will be like taking a fire hose to the streets and sidewalks of downtown San Francisco. Think about this. When did the arrest occur? The day after an attempt on Trump's life at the golf course, which just so happened to occur shortly after Trump posted, "I hate Taylor Swift," yet another low-talent entertainment billionaire endorsing Harris. This is all occurring 1.5 months before the most important election in our history. Maximum exposure and maximum damage must occur to the deep state cabal in order for Trump not only to win the election, but to get the buy-in of the majority of Americans. A large majority must be on board with what is to come, not just 52%, not even 60%. An overwhelming majority of Americans must be on board. I believe the Southern District of New York is where a lot of the cabal will meet their demise. The mayor of New York City was just arrested, and I believe there will be many more to come. But why was Adams arrested, and who was actually behind it? Is his arrest evidence the Patriots now control the DOJ, or was he arrested because he turned on the deep state? We'll find out soon enough. Who else has ties to P. Diddy? The Obamas, Kamala, Oprah. The list of deep state players goes on and on. Has P. Diddy turned state's witness? Is he singing like a bird? The P. Diddy arrest is the priming of the pump, not only tying many to corruption, but warming the general public up to what is to come: mass arrests. This doesn't end with the election of Donald Trump in November. This is when the real work begins. Becoming POTUS again is the first non-planning step towards taking America back and building it into a nation none of us has ever known before. Up to this point, everything done by the Patriots has been about waking up the masses and putting systems into place. The systems are starting to go live, and we are beginning to experience what we've been waiting on for years: justice. And you want to be healthy to experience the justice, my friends. You know that feeling you get? You're about to get sick? Well, you know you are going to get sick, right? A week ago, I got a little twinge. I feel, this feels like I'm going to get sick. My zeolite. It's the only variable. I didn't get sick. I'm also using amazing things on my skin. The body and scalp serum at tulipblooms.shop. My goodness, it's the best. And we also, oh my gosh, the Morning Dew Refresh Serum. Hyaluronic acid. Now this has the ability to just pump moisture into your skin cells. So all of these things, you're going to find them at tulipblooms.shop. Use promo code Shapiro to pry 10% from my grasping hands. And until November 2nd, you get free shipping, guys. Get it today. Get it while it's hot. And just take care of your health. We really need that. Let us pray. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you tomorrow.